The text came at 9:15 on a Tuesday morning. Mom, just checking in. How are you? I stared at it for a moment. 3 weeks since we'd last spoken. A month since I'd seen her in person. And now, unprompted, this message. I was in the middle of a work crisis. My largest client had just threatened to leave. My manager wanted a meeting at noon. I'd been awake since 5 a.m. trying to salvage the situation. But she'd asked. And maybe this time would be different. Me, honestly, not great. Work stuff is really overwhelming right now. I watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Mom, oh no. Well, try not to stress too much. These things always work out. Did you see the photos I sent of the new curtains? I looked at the message for a long time. Then I put my phone face down on my desk and went back to work. My name is Sophie. I'm 34. And I've spent most of my adult life believing my family cared about me because they asked how I was. It took me a long time to understand that asking and caring are not the same thing. I grew up in what everyone called a close family. Dinner together most nights. Holidays celebrated. Birthdays remembered. The kind of family that looked good from the outside. My parents were attentive in visible ways. They came to school events. They helped with homework. They asked about my day. But somewhere along the way, asking about my day became the extent of their emotional engagement. When I was 16, I got my first real boyfriend. When he broke up with me 3 months later, I was devastated. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Spent every lunch period in the library trying not to cry. My mother noticed I was quiet at dinner. Everything okay? Not really. Jake broke up with me. Oh, honey. Well, high school relationships don't usually last. You'll feel better soon. Can you pass the salt? That was it. The entire conversation. My first heartbreak, acknowledged and dismissed in under 30 seconds. I learned something that day. I could tell my mother I was hurting. She would acknowledge it. But she wouldn't sit with it. Wouldn't ask follow-up questions. Wouldn't make space for the feeling. She would just wait for me to feel better and pass the salt. In college, I struggled with anxiety. Not the casual kind everyone claims to have. The kind that made my chest tight and my thoughts spiral. The kind that kept me awake at 3 a.m., convinced I was failing at everything. I mentioned it to my father during a phone call home. I think I might need to talk to someone. Like a counselor or something. Why? What's wrong? I've just been really anxious. Like, all the time. It's hard to explain. Are your grades okay? Yeah, my grades are fine. Then you're probably just stressed. College is stressful. Everyone feels that way. You're doing great, sweetheart. Just keep pushing through. I didn't bring it up again. I found a counselor on campus myself. Paid for it with money from my part-time job. Went every week for 2 years. My parents never knew. Because the one time I tried to tell them, they'd reduced it to normal stress and moved on. After college, I moved to a new city for work. Away from everyone I knew. It was exciting and terrifying. The first few months were hard. I was lonely. I hadn't made friends yet. My apartment felt empty. My job was demanding in ways I wasn't prepared for. My mother called one Sunday. How's the new city? It's okay. I'm adjusting. That's good. Your cousin Emily just got engaged. Did you see on Facebook? No, I haven't been on Facebook much. Well, she's having a spring wedding. Very exciting. Anyway, I have to run. Just wanted to check in. She hung up before I could say anything else. I sat in my empty apartment and realized she hadn't actually wanted to know how I was. She'd wanted to confirm I was alive and then tell me about Emily's engagement. Checking in. Not caring. The pattern repeated for years. Brief texts. Quick calls. Surface-level questions followed by immediate subject changes. How are you? Tired. Work has been. Speaking of work, did I tell you about your father's promotion? Or, how are you? Actually, I've been feeling kind of isolated lately. You should join a gym. That's a great way to meet people. Anyway, we're thinking of repainting the kitchen. Or, how are you? Honestly, I'm struggling a bit with. Oh, everyone struggles sometimes. That's just life. Hey, are you coming home for Thanksgiving? Every conversation felt like a door I was trying to open that kept swinging shut before I could walk through. When I was 29, I went through a breakup. A serious one. We'd been together 3 years. Lived together. Talked about marriage. Then he cheated, and everything fell apart. I moved out. Found a new apartment. Spent weeks feeling hollowed out and broken. My mother called during this time. "How are you doing?" "Not great, honestly. The breakup is really hard." "Well, these things happen. You'll meet someone else. You're young. Plenty of time." "Mom, I don't want to meet someone else right now. I just want to process this." "I know, honey, but dwelling on it won't help. You need to stay positive. Move forward." "Have you been going out? Seeing friends?" "Not really. I've just needed time to." "That's your problem. You're isolating. You need to get out there. Keep yourself busy." "That's what I did when your father and I had that rough patch in our marriage." "You had a rough patch?" "Oh, years ago. Barely remember it now." "See? Time heals everything. You'll be fine." She'd never mentioned a rough patch before. And now she was using it as evidence that my pain was temporary and not worth examining. "I should go," I said. "Okay, sweetie. Chin up. Love you." I hung up and sat in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes I hadn't unpacked, and felt more alone than I had before the call. My sister got married when I was 31. Big wedding. Lots of family. I was a bridesmaid. The week leading up to the wedding was chaos. My sister was stressed. My mother was stressed. Everyone was stressed. I was also dealing with something at work. A project that had gone wrong. A mistake I'd made that was going to cost my company money. I was terrified I'd be fired. At the rehearsal dinner, my mother pulled me aside. "You seem off. What's wrong?" "I made a mistake at work. A big one. I might lose my job." She looked at me, then at the room full of family members laughing and toasting. "Can you just not think about that right now? This week is about your sister. Try to be present. Smile. This is a happy occasion." "I know, but..." "Sophie, I'm asking you to put it aside. Just for a few days. Can you do that?" I nodded. I smiled through the rehearsal dinner. The wedding. The reception. I danced and took photos and played my role. No one asked about work again. 2 weeks later, after everything was over, I texted my mother that I hadn't been fired. That I'd managed to fix the situation. That it had been the most stressful 2 weeks of my professional life. "Mom, that's great. See? I told you it would work out." Smiling face with smiling eyes. No acknowledgement that she'd asked me to suppress it during the wedding. No recognition that I'd been carrying that fear while performing happiness for everyone else. Just confirmation that everything worked out, as if that made the fear and stress invalid. If you've ever opened up to someone who responded with platitudes instead of presence, you know how exhausting it becomes. You start to measure your words. Edit your feelings. Offer only the versions of yourself that won't require them to do anything uncomfortable. I started seeing a therapist around this time. Not the campus counselor anymore. A real therapist. Someone I paid to sit with my feelings instead of redirecting them. In one session, I was describing my family's communication patterns. "They always ask how I am," I said. "But they don't want real answers." "What do you think they want?" "Confirmation that I'm fine. That everything's manageable. That they don't need to worry." And when you give them real answers, they minimize it. Or they compare it to something they went through. Or they give advice I didn't ask for. Or they just change the subject. My therapist nodded. "It sounds like they've learned to perform care without engaging in it." That phrase hit me like cold water. Performing care without engaging in it. That was exactly what it was. The texts. The calls. The just checking in messages. They were all performances. Ways to demonstrate concern without actually being present for the answers. I started an experiment after that session. When my family asked how I was, I started giving honest answers. Not dramatic ones. Not attention-seeking. Just honest. "How are you?" "I'm struggling with some health stuff. Getting tests done next week." "Oh. Well, I'm sure it's nothing serious. Doctors always run tests. Let me know what they say. Anyway, did you hear your aunt got a new dog?" Or, "How are you?" "Actually pretty lonely lately. Having a hard time connecting with people. Have you tried those apps? Everyone uses apps now. You should put yourself out there more." Speaking of which, we're planning a family trip for summer. Or, how are you? Honestly, I've been feeling depressed. Everyone feels down sometimes. You just need to focus on the positive. Count your blessings. You have a good job, a nice apartment. Things could be worse. Now, about Christmas. Every time, the pattern repeated. They asked. I answered. They dismissed, minimized, or redirected. And every time, I felt a little more distant from them. My father had a health scare when I was 33. Nothing life-threatening, but scary enough that he needed surgery and recovery time. I called every day during his recovery, checked in, asked how he was feeling, listened to his fears and frustrations. My mother thanked me for being so attentive. You're such a good daughter. He really appreciates you checking on him. Of course. He's my dad. I want to know how he's doing. That's what family does. We take care of each other. I almost laughed. 2 months later, I had a health scare of my own. Found a lump. Needed a biopsy. Spent 2 weeks terrified it was cancer. I told my mother. I'm sure it's fine. These things are usually benign. Try not to worry. Keep yourself busy. Let me know what the doctor says. No daily calls. No checking in. No listening to my fears. Just reassurance that it was probably nothing and an expectation that I'd report back when I had answers. The biopsy came back benign. I texted her the results. Mom, see. I told you it would be fine. No point in worrying. Smiling face with smiling eyes. I stared at that text for a long time. My father got daily calls during his recovery from non-life-threatening surgery. I got a text telling me not to worry during 2 weeks of waiting to find out if I had cancer. That's when I understood. Their care wasn't about what I needed. It was about what felt manageable to them. What fit into their emotional bandwidth. What didn't require them to sit with discomfort. I started pulling back after that. When they texted, just checking in, I responded with simple answers. Fine. Busy. Same as usual. I stopped offering details. Stopped trying to have real conversations. Stopped hoping this time would be different. My mother noticed. You seem distant lately. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. You sure? You can talk to us, you know. I know. Okay. Well, we're here if you need us. But they weren't. Not really. They were available for surface-level check-ins and reassurances that everything was fine. They weren't available for the messy middle. The uncertainty. The fear. The real emotional labor of being present with someone else's pain. My sister noticed too. Mom says you're being weird. I'm not being weird. She says you don't talk to her anymore. I talk to her all the time. Yeah, but not really. Like, you don't tell her what's going on with you. What's the point? She doesn't actually listen. That's not true. She always asks how you are. Asking isn't listening. My sister looked confused. I don't understand what you mean. She asks. I answer. She changes the subject. That's not a conversation. That's a script. You're being really harsh. I'm being honest. Well, it's hurting her feelings. I almost said, what about my feelings? What about all the times I tried to be honest and got shut down? What about the years of one-sided emotional labor? But I didn't. Because I knew how it would sound. Ungrateful. Dramatic. Too sensitive. So I just said, I'll try to be better. I didn't mean it. And I think she knew I didn't mean it. Months passed. My communication with my family became minimal. Polite. Surface level. They seemed relieved, actually. These conversations were easier. Lighter. No one had to deal with uncomfortable feelings. How are you? Good. That's great. Everything's good here too. Love you. Love you too. Short. Simple. Emotionally empty. Then my grandmother died. She was 92. It wasn't unexpected. But it was still hard. The funeral was small. Family only. Everyone crying. Everyone sharing stories. I stood at the back, watching my family grieve together, and felt completely separate from them. My mother approached me after the service. Are you okay? You've been so quiet. I'm sad. Grandma was important to me. I know, honey. She loved you so much. This is so hard for all of us. Yeah. She waited for me to say more. I didn't. Sophie, if you need to talk. I'm fine. You don't seem fine. I'm handling it. She looked hurt. I'm your mother. You can talk to me. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd raised me. Who'd asked, "How are you?" 1,000 times. Who'd never once sat with the answer when it was hard. I know I can talk to you, Mom. But you won't hear me. You'll just tell me it's going to be okay and change the subject. So there's no point. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's true. When have I ever? Every time. Every single time I've tried to be honest with you about something hard, you've minimized it or redirected the conversation. You ask because you're supposed to, not because you actually want to know. Her face crumpled. That's a horrible thing to say. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just tired of pretending. Pretending what? That your check-ins are the same as caring. She stared at me. Then she walked away. I didn't chase her. We didn't speak for 3 weeks after the funeral. Then she called. Sophie, we need to talk about what you said. Okay. I've been thinking about it. And I want to understand. Tell me what you mean. About the check-ins. I was surprised. Genuinely surprised. Are you sure? Yes. I took a breath. When you ask how I am and I give you an honest answer, you don't stay with it. You don't ask questions. You don't make space for the feeling. You just reassure me that it'll be fine and move on. It makes me feel like you don't actually want to know. You just want me to say I'm fine so you don't have to worry. Silence on the line. And that makes you feel uncared for, she said quietly. Yes. More silence. I didn't realize I was doing that, she said finally. I thought I was being supportive. Staying positive. Not dwelling on negative things. I don't need you to fix it or make it positive. I just need you to be with me in it. I don't know if I know how to do that. At least she was honest. Then maybe we start there, I said. Just acknowledging it. Things didn't change overnight. My mother still defaulted to reassurance. To silver linings. To changing the subject when things got uncomfortable. But she started catching herself. Apologizing. Trying again. How are you? Tired. Work has been really draining. Oh, well, she paused. Tell me more about that. What's been draining about it? It was clumsy. Uncertain. But it was trying. And that mattered. My relationship with my family is still complicated. We're still learning how to be present with each other instead of just performing connection. Some days are better than others. But I've learned something important. I've learned to protect my emotional energy. To stop offering vulnerability to people who won't meet it with care. To understand that someone can love you and still not know how to be with you in your pain. I've learned that "how are you" is only meaningful when followed by "really" and silence. When someone actually wants to know. When they'll sit with the answer, even if it's messy. I've learned that checking in and caring are not the same thing. And I've learned to save my real answers for people who will actually listen. My therapist asked me recently if I felt angry at my family. I thought about it. Not angry, I said. Just sad. And clear. Clear about what? About what they can give me. And what they can't. And that's enough? It has to be. Because you can't force someone to care the way you need them to. You can't teach someone to be emotionally present if they're not willing to learn. All you can do is protect yourself. Build boundaries. Find the people who will meet you where you are, not where they wish you would be. I still get the texts sometimes. Just checking in. How are you? These days, I respond honestly but briefly. I'm okay. Going through some stuff, but managing. If they ask for details, I share them. If they don't, I let it go. I've stopped hoping for more than they can give. And I've stopped giving more than they've earned. That's not coldness. That's not punishment. That's just understanding that care, real care, is a two-way street. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is stop pretending you're getting something you're not. If stories like this feel familiar, you're not alone. There are more stories like mine here. About the difference between asking and listening. About the exhaustion of one-sided emotional labor. About learning to save your truth for people who will actually receive it. You don't owe anyone your vulnerability. Especially not people who've proven they won't honor it. Sometimes, protecting your emotional truth is the kindest thing you can do for yourself.